Run, you fools! Have you ever noticed how there's this big market for romance or horror or whatever? A genre really is a big collection of commonalities and fulfilled expectations. In fantasy, there's gonna be magic, some dragons, but it's rare that a story is just one thing. Lord of the Rings, for example. Yes, it's high fantasy, but there's also some horror and some humor sprinkled in. Very rarely is a story presented as a humor-first sort of deal. Even books known for being funny, like The Martian. Sci-fi first, the humor is incidental. It's a bonus. And I get it, we like to categorize things, right? Start with the broader brush, make out the fine detailing once the first coat dries. Well, I'd like to present you with some books that I like because they are funny. Humor is subjective, so obviously this says more about me than the objective quality of each book. If you don't like it, you can shop it. Here are my top 10 funniest books. Number 10 is the Dracula Tape by Fred Saberhagen. I give to you a 12-part book series of which the 7th and the 9th parts are Sherlock Holmes pastiches. You can tell why I like it. It's a well-made parody. The premise here is simple really. It's Dracula, but it's the Count's side of the story. It adds to the original novel in a way that only a true fan would be able to. Like there's a point in the original where Lucy Westenra, a 19-year-old girl, daughter of a wealthy family, best friends with Mina Murray. You know Mina. Jonathan Harker, the protagonist, is sweet on her, so when her best friend gets sick, he's there to help. Well, Lucy dies in the original because Dracula sucked her off. Pause. In this one, she didn't die because Drac bit her. She probably dies because, I don't know, like, again, this is in the original. That piece of Van Helsing tried giving her 3 blood transfusions from 3 different donors. Not checking for compatibility or anything really. It sounds awful when I say it like that, but trust me, it's way funnier in context. Number 9 is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. Time and again the statement, there is no worthwhile millennial art, comes up in casual conversation. Can we really only take from our predecessors? Maybe it's because I won't stop talking about how much I dislike Enola Holmes. No, it's the children who are wrong. Anyways, this is the epitome of what my generation has accomplished so far. One of the main characters is a cat. Her name is Donut. She is easily one of the best cats in literature, only slightly behind Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service. Glorious millennial culture be praised! The premise is that aliens invade and transform the world into a kind of video game / reality show / heavy-handed political allegory. What? I mean, come on, most great pieces of media are at least a little bit political, right? Just watch First Blood again. It literally ends with Rambo pointing the gun back at the system that made him fight in the first place. Firefly is just libertarian propaganda if you wanna be cynical about it. Anyways, my favorite jokes so far are, well, later in the series, there's a feminism crossbow, but in this one, when Carl unlocks the inventory, he realizes that there's an infinite space within it, and it incurs no encumbrance penalties on him. He just starts tossing everything he finds in there. It's a physics exploit. In the first book, he gets an achievement for putting a little ton of trash into his inventory. That's a gamer, what can I say? Number 8 is Red Shirts by Jon Scalzi, a well-done postmodern parody of a TV show from the 60s that if I were to take a guess, most people are tangentially familiar with. What if the viewership numbers for Star Trek Discovery are any indications? It remains one of the few aspects of nerd culture that has yet to see actual mainstream success in any significant way. It's so interesting. It's a sort of niche within a niche. Well, the original series, which the book is based off of, is basically about people traveling this one spaceship across the galaxy. It's a very episodic thing, but the constant is that we always follow the ship's senior officers. They get sent into some foreign planets, fight evil robots, get freaky with alien chicks, mechanics, but sometimes they'll be accompanied by an ensign, which is like an intern, if my understanding is right. These ensigns usually wear red shirts to differentiate them from the main characters, and will usually get killed to artificially raise the dramatic tension. Well, the story takes place in a legally distinct version of the Star Trek universe. Early in the book, the main character makes contact with this one mentally unstable dude who has a theory. The guy's name is Adam Yankins. He thinks he's in a TV show. And you know what? It actually makes sense. Furthermore, the main character figures out that the theory is true, and I can't keep going without spoiling it, but this thing is a treat for the Trekkies. Feels a little bit like a Q episode. Number 7 is Port Noise Complaints by Philip Roth. A bit of a break from this modern, over-sexualized literary landscape. Like, for real, every goddamn book is so horny nowadays. And I like romance. Sex and romance are sort of neighbors. They'll meet in the morning. When they are heading off to the office, they actually work in the same building. And they do get along, but they don't actually always work together. You can have one without the other is what I'm saying. Well, this book has a lot of sex in it. None of it remotely sexy or romantic, for that matter. Actually, most of it is really funny, which I don't know if you've ever caught yourself in the mirror while you're giving your significant other some thrusting action, but that shit looks funny. This is a book based off of that premise. If you can get into that, you'll like it. Back on the whole smut epidemic, I'm not alone here, right? Red, white, and royal blue, for example. Can we all just agree this is just pornography? Don't get me wrong, I love porn, but I've caught people reading this in public and I feel like that's wrong somehow. I don't wanna be sanctimonious, but there's a social contract. I uphold my ends by not watching Olivia Glass movies when I'm on the bus. Just read your smut shamefully in private, like a normal person. Number 6 is A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian by Marina Luvicka. You will either love the premise and read through the whole thing in one go, laughing all the way through, or you'll really dislike it. You'll probably dislike the main character regardless, since she's sort of built to be unsympathetic. I mean, she's a sociology professor from the UK. I don't think I've ever met any British sociologists that I've liked. The humor here comes from a very dark place. It goes over the Russian occupation of Ukraine. The first one, not current events. This came out in like 2005. It talks about the Ukrainian famine and something called the Great Terror, which, as you can probably guess, was kind of bad. I think we should learn to laugh at this sort of things. Books like this one help with that. Plus, it does actually have excerpts from another book called A Short History of Tractors. You know, I love it when a book delivers on the title, so it's funny and educational. Alright, it's a really weird book, definitely not for everyone. Number 5 is 3 Men on a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. There's a joke in this book where 3 British guys are trying to open a can of pineapples by using a knife. Almost losing a couple of fingers, they throw it, you know, denting the can but still being unable to open it. Then they just start bashing it. They still aren't able to get the pineapples, but now the can is all messed up, so the fruit is probably been flattened. It's like traveling up the River Thames with your pals from uni, which is, I'm sure, a very universal experience. All the people I know absolutely love this book, be it because of how exceptionally British it is, or because if you read it a certain way, it becomes a very different story. 3 Men on a Boat uses the words gay and queer in the old British way, you see, so it's either a wonderful journey of self-discovery for 3 young men, or it's the grandfather of all road trips. River trip, boat trip, water trip. Number 4 is The Portable Vleven by Elizabeth Mackenzie. Warning: this book is a bit experimental. There's pictures, changes in font, a whole ass section on neurology, written straight too, no jokes there, so I have decided in the spirit of the book I will tell you about Thorstein Bunde Vleven, a 20th century economist who may or may not be related to the book itself. The theory of the leisure class, an economic study of institutions, is an economic treatise written in 1899. Levin discusses how money and the pursuit of it has changed natural human behavior. He refers to the class that is in control of the means of production as one that has employed themselves in useless activities, while the working class is employed in industrialized, productive activities, holding up the whole thing in their backs, while again, and I'm just asking questions, okay? Don't come at me. But what do influencers actually do? Do you know what a senator does? You feel me? I get that a senator is supposed to be representing a state in terms of legislation, but it feels like, if you need a second hustle to support your family as a teacher while these guys are out here buying yaks and Lamborghinis, something is off. Number 3 is The Gun Seller by Hugh Laurie. Hold up. The fuck is it? It is House. Yeah, this guy is funny. He was in Blackadder.
I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds damn saucy.
Seriously, what can't this guy do? Did you know he actually charted in the French billboards a couple of years ago? Well, as I said, the book is funny, but it's more of a deadpan witty funny than a piss your pants can't breathe funny. The plot is, well, I'm not gonna say it's not good, but this is a character book. We follow this mercenary guy, Thomas Lang. He takes a job to kill an American businessman for a lot of cash. Then some James Bond stuff happens. Whatever, let's play a game. I'll tell you 3 quotes. You tell me in the comments if it's Dr. House or Thomas Lang. You took a chance. You did something great. You were wrong, but it was still great. You should feel great that it was great. You should feel like crap that it was wrong. Done? Pain is an event. It happens to you, and you deal with it in whatever way you can. Alright, next one. Having a vote once every 4 years is not the same as democracy. Okay, now for the results. Did you get them all? Number 2 is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. Again, I would like to reiterate that there is a very personal element to humor. In this case, I just found the narrator to be quite relatable. No, I did not go to Colombia or inherit a sizable sum, thus allowing me to just sort of do whatever I wanted for a while, but I did live with my college roommate for a while after graduating, and I've worked with artists before. I used to be a photographer actually. Granted, I was more the sort of take a very unflattering pictures at a press conference rather than the kind to arrange a composition. But I've made a couple of pink G's, and there have been a couple of times in my life when I have wanted to just go to sleep for the rest of the year. You feel me? Your mileage with this one is going to depend on how much you're willing to go along with the absolute downer of a main character we're stuck with here. Well, her disposition is definitely on purpose and it suits the tone, so I'm not complaining. There's a subplot involving
9/11.
Yeah, I see you, Mr. Enter. I got you, fam. I also like my books set in 2001 to mention 9/11. Granted, the book is set in NYC and 2 characters actually work at the towers. Zhekov! The hell, one moment, please. Zhekov! You can't just leave your gun laying around, man.
It's on coffee table.
No, it's on my coffee table, by my cocaine, and on top of my vintage porn magazines. You are not in Russia anymore, we don't do communism here. But we do have a thing called gun safety. Google it. Number 1 is The History of Tom Jones, a Foundling by Henry Fielding. I have heard people talk about this thing and call it elevated humor. Whatever that means, what you must know is that this thing is basically a snapshot of 1700s English life. The story is told in the fashion of a picaresque, and every time a new adventure is about to start, the narrator gives you a lowdown so you won't get lost. It has all the classics, morality tales, subtle digs at the French, which I do always appreciate, the French, some very bad advice, and downright beautiful prose, side by side with unfortunate descriptions of the tender treatment of Sophie's moth, which is not what you think it means, but it's funnier if you don't know. Just check this out. Thus, the hypocrite may be said to be a player, and indeed the Greeks called them both by one and the same name. This Henry Fielding guy was spitting. Furthermore, I will tell you right now, the bitches love Tom Jones. If you're having trouble getting Shorty to notice you, quote Master Thomas Jones at her, watch her fall into your arms, it works every time. We are done, just like that. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. Tell me about the funniest book you've ever read in the comments. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your day.